Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel, and Alan Shearer is back in the news with some recent comments on Marcus Rashford. Quick question I've got for you all out there is, has Marcus Rashford been unfairly targeted for his performances at Manchester United? Get involved in today's video, Reds, because we want to know your opinions, and we will try and discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. First of all, though, how was your weekend?
Great weekend. I've celebrated my Ruby wedding anniversary with your mother. And she's delighted to have had my company all weekend. So I've had a nice weekend, to be honest with you.
Do you think she's been delighted to have your company over the past 40 years?
Always. Absolutely. Always. There's no complaints from her over me.
Yeah, we had a good day, actually, yesterday on Sunday as a family get-together, which we can't always often do, all sitting in the same place, having some food and, yeah, having a good chat. So that was a good family day, what we had on Sunday. But let us know your thoughts and opinions on your whole weekend as well, where you're joining us from, all that good stuff in the chat. Now, Alan Shearer updated his comments on Match of the Day over the weekend, saying that the criticism Marcus Rashford has faced hasn't been unfair, and he's kind of stood his ground on recent comments.
Yeah, I did warn when Erik ten Hag came back to the reporters in the press conference, commenting on what Alan Shearer said, calling him stupid. I thought that was daft. Left a big, wide open space for the media to come piling in. Listen, people are entitled to their opinion, but clearly Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker, they've put a target on Rashford's back. Look, I'm a football fan. I follow United. I can criticise him, good or bad. Doesn't matter what I say. I'm a football fan. But these have got an agenda. And I did warn this is what was going to happen. So they've got a target, as far as I'm concerned, on Rashford's back. Every game United played, they could have gone down a different route. United were playing away at Southampton, but they chose to bring up the Rashford. Yes, Rashford had a decent game. That's all it was. But they chose to bring it back up. And that is the target, and they're going to use it. And that's what's unfair about this coming from Shearer. He's got an opinion. He's entitled to it. But this is a target from the media.
Yeah, his previous comments and his analysis, what Erik ten Hag alluded to is stupid after the actual Brighton loss. I do think it actually has some merit to it, like we mentioned in a previous video, what we've done on them comments. And I don't see anything to, don't get me wrong, you look at the FA Cup final after that, himself and the BBC, what they were involved with, the questions they were putting to Erik ten Hag, I didn't agree with whatsoever. But that doesn't mean then I have to disagree with everything he says. No. And like I say, these comments on Rashford, I do think a lot of it has merit to it, because like he said in the picture what I just put up on video, he does say we expect more from Rashford because he's got that talent, he has got the ability, but we've just not been seeing it, especially in the past 12 to 18 months or so.
We know he's got the ability. We've not seen it. We know that. We can speculate why he's not got it. We've said it loads of times. Listen, I've gone in on Marcus Rashford proper, but I'm a United fan, right? And it hurts me to see someone put on a shirt and not perform and walk around the pitch like Marcus Rashford has done, right? But is his criticism justified? Yes, Shearer came out previously, talked about Marcus Rashford in his attitude and everything. Is it unfair? No, I don't think a lot of it's unfair. But what it is, it's now turning into not criticism. It's a target from the media to bash Man United. And I did say Erik ten Hag should not have said anything about it, should have just dismissed it. But he's used it now. The media will use it. And this is what the Match of the Day on the Saturday with Shearer and Lineker are doing. And that is bang out of order. Some of the criticism isn't unfair. Some of it, you know, you can sort of say, well, you know, Shearer argues. Listen, what he argues there, Kieran, is this. The standards Marcus Rashford has set himself, right, he's fallen way below it, OK? And now this goal, what he scored, it should give him a bit of confidence and go on to see it. But that's a target in itself. By saying he should now have the confidence to go on and score more goals. Well, what happens if he doesn't score more goals? Every time United play and they comment on it, it'll be, he's not scored, he's not playing well, he's not doing this, or the standards are below. That one goal, it's not good enough from Marcus Rashford. That's what I'm talking about, an agenda. and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, just diving into the chat. El Denicio says, I think the criticism on Rashford is fair. He's been poor, but it's good to see Ten Hag defending his players. Shows they are all in it together. And he did come out fighting Erik Ten Hag when he labelled Shearer's analysis after that Brighton game stupid.
Yeah, he comes out fighting, and he will defend his players, Erik Ten Hag, and quite rightly so. That's what you should do. You should all, close in together, close ranks and say, right, hey, we're fighting for Man United. We're not having this criticism. We're working hard. We're working together. We're working for the best of each other. And Erik Ten Hag does that. Listen, he's done it with Sancho. He's done it with plenty of players. What we've all criticised and gone on. I criticise Marcus Rashford, right? But he still picks him. So that means they're all rallying together. They stick together, Erik Ten Hag and the players. Erik Ten Hag won't go against them. He's only done it once, as far as I can remember, and that was Sancho criticised him about his training. But enough was enough with Sancho. That was clearly enough. He'd done everything, and he answered the question, and then we've seen the response over Sancho. But Rashford, he sticks with him, because a lot of us out there don't understand that the poor performances Marcus Rashford puts in, right, how he gets the place week in, week out. We're talking about last 8-9 months. Of his performances, and a lot of us don't understand that. So Shearer, when he comes out with his criticism, maybe he should sort of look into it and say, well, why is he not playing? And if he talk more about why he's not performing or anything like that, as an educated footballer, what he is, then we might get an understanding.
I've not seen everything that's wrote about Marcus Rashford or said on a YouTube channel, etc. But for me, especially last season, I got the feeling as though Marcus Rashford wasn't handling the criticism particularly well from Manchester United fans and media outlets. And do you think that maybe had a huge impact on his performances?
No, I think Marcus Rashford has gone astray on the field, off the field. I think it's just how he is, how he's dealing with life, what he's got in his life, what he's up to. Where his concentration is. It's definitely not been on the football pitch. It's been elsewhere, whether that's business ventures or anything else like that. I don't know what businesses he does. I'm not interested in it, to be perfectly honest. But he's got his eyes set elsewhere. And if you look and you go back a while, talk about Paris Saint-Germain and all that, his brother going over there, who's his agent, talking to them about a possible move. So his eyes and his head was turned onto different things. He never, as far as I see it, he was never 100% got the eyes on Man United, doing everything for Man United. Everything seemed to be distraction, and that's his problem. So that's how I look at it with Marcus Rashford. But many players have been distracted. They've got that much wealth now, and Rashford's got that much wealth, and it can turn your heads and that. So, you look at him and you think, you need to concentrate on your football. But how many people have told him to do that? I think everybody's told him to do that. Everyone what's around him. When you hear people saying, oh, he just needs an arm round him. Sancho's just gone to Chelsea. You've just heard their manager going.
Some people do need that, though. Some players are like that. You've got to look at the modern-day footballer, and the footballer, it's not like it was in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, like your time, where it was all like hard as nails. You needed to get on with it no matter what the criticism was. And you've also got to look at it even now with social media, how big it is. A lot of these football players are, as not just footballers, they're like social media influencers. Like you say, they've got that much going on. And when they come away from football, what life might be like, where they've got other people around them, the teams, the PR aspect, where it's not even to do with football. So it could be easily done where your head's turned, surely.
Marcus Rashford told us all, and has continually told us all, how tough it was in his childhood, getting to training, getting to football, the commitments his family did, he did, and everything. He knows what it is to be a warrior. He knows what it is to fight. He knows the downside, and he knows to get to the top, you have to work hard. He knows the ethics. He knows it.
Yeah.
He spoke about it that much. Marcus Rashford is not the type of kid, right, growing up, who needed an arm round him, because he understood what hard work was all about and where it gets you. And you get nothing without hard work. So there's no arm round Marcus Rashford. He's got his family around him because of the hard work and the sacrifices they've all done. They understand what it takes to get to the top. He doesn't need an arm round him. That's the last thing he needs. He's got an understanding of what life is all about, the good side and the bad side. He knows how to deal with it, and so does his family.
And you mature a lot quicker, see what life's really like at a younger age as well, by going through all them hardships and what it's actually took for him to get where he is. Gordon says in the chat, if you put a United shirt on, you're open to criticism, no matter if it's good or bad, and your performances as well. Martin says, remember the questions after the FA Cup final? They were a disgrace, Lineker and Shearer. He also says, whether the critics are right or not, it's pathetic that that's all they talk about, Manchester United. Anything to have a dig at us.
Yeah, well, what it is...
If you look at the similarities as well over the weekend, Liverpool getting beat by Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Where was the breakdown of the tactics from Arne Slot on Nottingham Forest and how they actually beat him? All it's ever been about since over the last couple of days is how good Nottingham Forest were, not how bad Liverpool were.
Well, I look at it this way with the media. Manchester United were playing at home this weekend against Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest would have won. It'd have all been about Man United, how bad they are. It's a disaster. Everything's falling round Old Trafford and everything. That's what it would have been. Eric Ten Hag out, this, Rashford's rubbish, these rubbish, he's rubbish. That's what would you have got. You wouldn't have got the media talking about Nottingham Forest on how good they held Man United off and how the tactics were, how well they outplayed Liverpool. Liverpool played well. They wouldn't have said Forest. They wouldn't have mentioned Forest, how good they were against Man United if it was the other way round. It would have been just slagging off Man United. That's how biased the media are. There's no slagging down of Arne Slot. There's no slagging down of Liverpool.
Yeah, but you've also...
Not overcoming Nottingham Forest at home. Anfield, the fortress. That's what we're all told. This is the fortress. You don't win at Anfield. But how poorly did they play? They didn't overcome a Nottingham Forest side, which a lot of people had down for relegation. There's no criticism of Liverpool. It's all praise for Nottingham Forest. It would have been the other way round if Nottingham Forest would have been playing Manchester United at Old Trafford this weekend. That's the bias, what goes on, and has always gone on. And will continue.
I understand that. I totally get it. Like a lot of fans out there, you know, Man United lose a game, the world's ended, big crisis, and there's a complete meltdown. But Man United were on the back of 2 straight defeats in the Premier League with Brighton and Liverpool. And if they would have lost, let's say, to Southampton, you know, that wouldn't have been a great start so early in the Premier League season for United. So they would have took a lot of criticism, and rightly so. But Arne Slot, like you say there, it's like they've just papered over it. Like, oh, we don't need to know about that. Let's just focus on Forest, how good their tactics were, which I think it was probably the best performance for over all the teams over the weekend, including the manager as well. It was absolutely spot on, his tactics.
Yeah.
If you actually look at the full game as well, he got it bang on.
Yeah, well, if you look at Man United, you know, you just mentioned there about other teams and all that, and criticism and how people praise. I think United have been underpraised for the win at Southampton for the simple reason. International break, okay? Players all coming back late, less time. United having to travel down to Southampton and everything. The preparation for the away game at Southampton was it was like a small window. So for United to overcome all that, go down there, and then when I look at it through the preparation and all that, I now look at it in a different way. Them first 20, 25 minutes. I think it took United a long time. A long time to get it right because of the actual setup and the preparation from it. And I don't think Eric Ten Hag and the players have been given enough praise, right, for the lack of time together in preparation for the game against Southampton. But, hey, these media people, very slow to praise Man United at the moment because we know what's coming. They were all gutted because what they wanted to do is just go, Eric Ten Hag's out, another loss, and he's out, another this, another that. That's what it was all about. So the media itself, and I missed that, to be honest with you, about the preparation. And it was a poor preparation, but we still went down there. We managed to turn it round, get a 3-0 win, and get the 3 points. So it's a really excellent 3 points when you look at it through that point.
Yeah, no, a very slow start, and someone who I've criticised, who I want to see better performances from, come the end of the season, is Onana. That penalty save changed the game. I mean, that game could have gone a totally different way if he hadn't have saved that penalty for me.
No.
Because we've seen United over the past 12 to 18 months in particular, when things go against them or certain situations in games do, like I say, go against them, they sometimes crumble. And that could have happened in that game, let's face it.
Yeah, when things go against United,
because I've still
sometimes
got concerns about the mentality with some of that squad.
Yeah, well, listen, the mentality bit, I do understand. But when you look at Onana, the penalty save, if he hadn't have saved it, would United have crumbled? They find it very difficult to come back against adversity when things go against them. But I look at Onana's performance as a whole. I don't think when you look at Onana himself, he'd already positioned himself and he'd already made one or two good saves in the game. So from a confidence point of view, when you look at Onana, that was great. Even before the penalty, he didn't actually do anything wrong. And then obviously the penalty save, when you look at it, it was an easy save by standards of high up there because it was a poor penalty, but he went the right way. Yeah. Whether he anticipated it or he looked at the fella, he got the right way, and it done the world of good for everybody's confidence. And United sort of woke up then, as if to say, whoa, hang on a minute, what's this? And from that moment onwards, the confidence was there. You could see there was shapes in football. People stepped up. And I think what I've just said about the game, about the preparation, I think that hindered United, and that's why there was a slow start. But Onana saving the pen was clearly the turning point.
Talking about Rashford again and Onana in this one, we need to see consistency though from both. It's no good doing it and giving a performance against Southampton, who, in my opinion, are definitely certs to go down. They need to be consistent now, and we need to see that over the next month or so, surely.
I look at Onana, and I have said it, consistency is the key for any goalkeeper. It's the goalkeeper. You haven't got a good goalkeeper, you're not going to win anything. He has to improve. Yeah. When you look and you take into isolation some of the goals what have been let in, you can criticise Onana every month of the season last year because there was some terrible mistakes and some good points as well. But you want consistency, and we've not had that with Onana last season. He has to do it this year, and I've said it previously. Onana, if you don't get the consistency and he's not getting things right, and if you see the repeats of the mistakes he made last year, then United will have to look at it at the end of the season and say, is this the right goalkeeper? So the pressure is on Onana, and quite rightly so. And if he's not doing it, then you have to turn around and say, right, going forward, we have to change the goalkeeper, and it's a world-class goalkeeper you would have to bring in to replace him. But Onana, you have to have time with the goalkeeper. He's a good goalkeeper. Things aren't clearly 100% with him. So this year is his year, Onana. I
think it should make a big difference, though, having De Ligt and Martinez in front of him as well. Them two centre-halves played with him before. I think he did, didn't he? Ajax, I'm sure them two were in front of him at one point. And let's hope, when we look back on it at the end of the season, he's actually put in some really good performances. And like with Marcus Rashford, the same thing. We've got Barnsley. Do you expect him to start tomorrow, actually, against Barnsley, or rest him?
I think he'll rest him.
Yeah, he should do.
I think he'll rest him.
I think it should be Garnacho coming in, and even Anthony on the right. I think we should rest Ahmad as well, going into that Crystal Palace game on the weekend. Why not? It's Barnsley.
Yeah, it's only Barnsley.
You know what I mean? But the fringe players, this should be their opportunity to go and put a performance in, to then give a manager a bit of a headache to go into the Palace game on the weekend. Surely.
Okay,
it's a squad.
Right, simple as this. Erik ten Hag wants to win cups. So what do? You don't put fringe players in. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done that at all. I expected him in cup games to sort of drop players and whatever. Erik ten Hag will go for the cup. That's what he wants. I want to win every game. And he wants to win the cups. So when you talk about dropping Rashford, no, I don't see him dropping Rashford. I just don't see him. What I see him playing his best side. That's what I see. I think obviously there's one or two players there. I think there's about 3 what came off with possible injuries and that. So I don't expect to see them. I do expect to see Maguire and Johnny Evans, because the centre-halves were the ones what came off injured. But regarding the other outfield players, no. As I see it, Erik ten Hag wants the cups. We want to win, and he wants them cups. He's proud of them. He keeps always bringing it up.
I know you're saying that, but surely if you're starting Garnacho on the left-hand side for Rashford and Anthony on the right-hand side for Ahmad, you know, you should, I'm not being funny here to Barnsley, but you should be winning the game, surely. It's not that much of a difference. These are players, highly paid professional footballers playing here at Manchester United.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying I look at it from Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag's going to pick a side, and he always seems to pick his strongest side. That's how I look at it. So I don't expect Rashford to be dropped. I'll be surprised, to be honest with you.
Set out with your strongest side. Try and get at least 2 or 3 goals in front.
I think that's how he looks at it.
Then start changing the game around, start bringing players on and off. That's probably good man management.
That's how I think he looks at it. For me, it's the wrong way to do it. But hey, who am I to criticise Erik ten Hag picking teams in the cup when we've actually picked up 2 cups in 2 years?
A player who's getting criticism as well for the last couple of weeks was Casemiro. Yes. I said in a video, I don't think you agreed, and a lot of people out there, that playing him further up in that midfield area, it would suit him much better than sitting there in a defensive position. And he was involved in the goal for Garnacho.
Yeah, but I also look at it this way, you know.
He can pick a pass out.
Look,
Keep saying it.
I can't accept Casemiro going up there. What Erik ten Hag wants, from a tactical point of view, is we all work together in defence. We all work together in attack, and that's what goes against what people say about Casemiro playing further up, because he can't get back. So for me, that's not on. The player to me is a squad player, and he'll be brought in as and when. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, and you definitely need your squad. You look at Christian Erikson over the weekend. A lot of us on our watch along were scratching our heads thinking, you know, what's this change all about? You know, he's not even hardly played any minutes this season, Christian Erikson. And I do think Casemiro further forward, that will suit him more than that defensive shape. Well, in that defensive position, because of the shape Erik ten Hag actually plays, where it will leave him exposed. Agate, I can't remember too much of him when he come on against Southampton, to be honest with you. But we're all expecting and hoping for an improvement when he does start games in a defensive position.
Okay, it's an experiment, okay? Experiment finished. You do the experiment on the training ground. If that was the position for Casemiro, where anybody in the coaching setup or anything thought that was better for Casemiro and the team to play him further up, they would already have done that. So it clearly doesn't work, or that idea is not going to happen. That's how I see it. It's an experiment. And the experiment, as far as I'm concerned, are finished. What we want to see is a settled team, a settled pattern of play, and be entertained, and making experiments by putting players up there at that age who clearly haven't got the legs to get back when you're supposed to work as one.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
To be honest with you, I think we could sit here all day back and forth about that, because it's not one simple answer or a couple of different solutions to fix certain parts of the team. What's still clearly needed, and I think quality with players is still need to be added for us to improve with some sort of consistency this season. And I think we might even dive back into the transfer window in January, because they've extended that Christopher Vivel's contract, who was working on negotiations in the summer. So if they weren't looking at making any transfers or trying to get more players out, I don't think they'd have extended his contract. But I'm going to go into the chat. Zay Miase, cheers for your super chat. He says, what did you think of our win at the weekend, Arsenal fan?
Workmanlike win. Excellent. That's what you do. You had a few players out. Workmanlike. That was it. Poor Tottenham side.
Yeah, Stephanie says, midfield trio, whoever it is starting, it needs to work as a unit. And yeah, I do agree with that.
Well,
like attack and defence.
Look, that's what we all want to see now. We want to see games like this against Barnsley, right? Working as a unit, getting your best side out there so they know how they're going to do it when they're coming up against the top sides in the Premier League. So that's why I think Erik ten Hag will play his strongest side, so they can get used to a system. I think the system is changing. I think the coaching tactics and everything are changing. So the more they get chance of doing it on the pitch, look, international break, they didn't have any chance to get to work together and all that. And then we're going to have another international break. And to me, it's ridiculous what's going on in football. Stop, start, stop, start. So these players need game time to get used to the system. These coaches, that's why they've been brought in, to change things around, right, and get it working. So they need as much game time as possible.
Yeah, Daniel Stone says, I think Mayu needs a rest, and I can see Agati, Casemiro and Bruno in midfield. And I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, because I don't mind Casemiro further forward in midfield like we did see when he come on at Southampton, and with Agati there, you know, at the base there, trying to do all the defensive work, mopping things up. I
think if you look at Saturday's display against Southampton, you can sort of say he needed a rest, Mayu. You could look at him and think there's something wrong. He's tackling, he's running, getting booked, and his body language wasn't what it normally is.
He seemed a little bit frustrated in the second. Well, to be fair, with that referee, some of the yellow cards he was pulling out, I would have been frustrated myself. But he did seem a little bit frustrated. And something that I've not really seen from him since he's come on the scene at Manchester United. And
getting frustrated as a young player, you can understand that.
Is that a good thing, though, as well? Frustrated maybe with some of the things he was doing himself?
No. When someone's frustrated, you've got to snap out of it and think of the team. And to be honest with you, someone really should have had a word with him because it was continuing. But he was probably frustrated at himself because he wasn't at the peak performance, what he normally does. So if you look at Mayu, if there is a shout, give him a break. Bit of rotation for him. If there's any player to be rotated, then I look at it as Saturday's game and think Mayu's the man. Bring him off. Maybe not even put him on the bench. We've got plenty of people in the squad, and maybe add on the bench a few youngsters coming in. So
you've also got to look at his age as well. He only come on the scene last season, and we've got the likes of Erikson, Casemiro, Bruno. All experienced players, and they need to start taking responsibility as well, and instead of like leaving that responsibility to Mayu in defence and actually creating attacks as well. And I do think at some point he will need that rest, and like I say, against Barnsley, I hope he does get one so he's then fresh for Crystal Palace, because I do think that's going to be a really tricky game for us this weekend, especially when you look at our performances and results against them last year. We need to put that right this year.
Well, I look at the experienced players as the ones really, especially over the last 12 months, what have let us down. The experienced players in many areas, and I've talked about in the changing room, in training, on the pitch. So to me, it's the experienced players what really should be rising further up there to drag the others along with them. And for me, over a 12-month period, what I've seen, I think it's the experienced players what have actually let everybody down.
Ancient Jake says, I thought it was Tuesday today. Do you know what, mate? I've been saying that all day today to you, and I keep feeling like it's been Tuesday and it's Monday. I don't know what it is with the weekend. But Zamiasi says, I don't think your attack can break Saliba or Gabriel. Arsenal fan. Thanks for your super chat.
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. We're not even sure of our pattern of play up front. Until we get a few more games under the belt, when Højlund comes back, when Mason Mount comes back, because Mason Mount was clearly in Erik ten Hag's plans to start his chasing and his closing down. We've seen what he did, and it worked, but he's out. So his plans have gone astray, Erik ten Hag. So I don't really... it's like the other day, I wasn't sure who or how they were going to set up. And I think many Man United fans out there will agree that we don't know what the setup is or what the plan is. And that's why I'm saying it's imperative. I think Erik ten Hag is saying to himself, I want my best team out there against Barnsley. I need him to get out there and work at this system, what I want.
Yeah, Martin says he don't like the fixture against Palace. Always a dodgy game.
I'm not looking forward to that myself.
Yeah, well...
I was hoping... I was honestly... right, hoping no one brought that up because it just brings bad memories, you know, going down there, you know, just as Erik ten Hag was taking over. I remember that game. I was there with your lad, my grandson, and it was horrible. And since then, it just seems horrible, as though, like, we can't seem to get a result down there. But this one, I'm not too happy about it.
Thought Crime says, laugh out loud. Mason Mount reminds me of last year when Tony was calling out for Martial to start, which I actually do remember that, but you must have been, I don't know why that's still in your head, mate, but I remember you saying for Martial to start to give Højlund a rest because he was only our striker and recognised striker last year. I don't think it was a point of making that Martial was better than Højlund, but...
I never...
Yeah.
Me calling for Martial to start, maybe to start a game for one game, but not to continue playing. No, not me, because I always said Martial is injured. He just won't. Won't pass a medical. So I am not a champion of Anthony Martial if that's what you're trying to suggest, because you'd have to point to a video or anything where I could go back, right, and then like criticise myself for championing Anthony Martial, because I was never a champion of Anthony Martial. Good footballer.
You wasn't. Webby was.
Webby was.
Yeah, Webby's
not me. Webby's always gone on about Anthony Martial. One of his favourites.
Yeah, Tony Martial. But on his day, I'll admit myself, but there wasn't too many of them in his closing months at Manchester United, or even closing 12 to 18 months of him being on top form. He was always injured. I've washed my hands with Anthony Martial in that Sevilla away game in the Europa League. Him and Jadon Sancho, that game. And yeah, he's in the past now, Martial. Now we've got Xerxes and Højlund, so it's looking a lot better in them forward areas for me. And yeah, good summer transfer window for Manchester United, getting players in and also getting players out. Just like to thank you all for joining us today. Huge response in the chat, loads of different opinions in there, as usual. That's what we love to see. If you want to help support us, smash a like on the video, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with a match preview for Manchester United versus Barnsley. So get that notification on, and we'll see you again soon. Much love. Thank you.
Thank you.